Hi there. Got my script here. I spent all day writing this story that I'm about to share with you. Couple things. Um, First of all, you may notice that I'm always wearing this jacket. That's because it's freezing cold here and I refuse to put my heat up higher than 65. So, that is the reason for the jacket. And the other thing is I touch my hair an awful lot, don't I? My last couple videos, I looked at them again. I'm like, gosh, I'm constantly like touching my hair. So I'm going to try not to do that today. Okay. So, I want to say that it doesn't really matter if you have a lot or little as far as possessions in life. If it's trash, if it's treasure, if your philosophy is minimalist or maximalist, the process of parting with your possessions is probably one of the most painful experiences of preparing for slow travel. That's something that I'm in the process, actually almost completed the process of doing now. So I wanted to share with you kind of my experiences. I want to tell you a little bit about my research into why it's so hard, a little bit about my philosophy and how I came to it, and also what I'm actually doing, the actual things I have done or am doing to take care of all my personal possessions so that they have a home when I leave here. Now, some people rent spaces, some people have neighbors or family that can where they can store their stuff. I'm not one of those people, so that is the point of view I'm coming from, where I'm going to be getting rid of everything, absolutely everything. We'll see. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to share a little bit of research because I was really curious about what is it about these things, these physical objects, that is so tied to us that we feel there's a certain, like a level of grief or loss when you get rid of these items. So I did what everybody does on the internet. I asked ChatGPT to tell me what that could be. And what I asked Chat was, why is it that our physical possessions seem to be tied to so much to our identity? And this is what Chat had to say, and I thought it was really interesting and very valid. I'm trying to put my paper where I can see it. First thing he said, or she said, or they said, or it said, was that objects are memory anchors. And so what they meant was is that the objects that we own are not just the physical object, they actually are tied to some kind of memory. And to give you an example, something I have yet to decide what to do with. This is a bowl, just in my favorite color. It doesn't come across the same color, but I got this while visiting a friend, and so it has meaning to me beyond the fact that it's a bowl. And it has meaning to me not only because of the memory of my friend, but also because it's so beautiful. And as an art, uh, I was a visual art teacher. Have a bachelor's in fine arts. As an art person, the beauty of something is something tangible and important to me. Okay, so they act as memory anchors. They also he also said Chad also said that it signals who we are, especially when words fall short, which is true. So the things we own, like the books we have on our bookshelf and the way we decorate our home, they say something about who we are. And so it's a way of kind of reinforcing for ourselves our own our own ego. Who are we? And showing the world who we are. Um, I thought this was interesting. It said that control equals selfhood. So, as we're children, at first we don't have that sense of selfhood. But when it comes, we start saying, my mom, my toy, my house. So it kind of, you're identifying, it's proving to you that you have an effect on your environment and that you have a sense of agency. The fourth thing that it shared about why possessions are so important to us is they said they protect against impermanence. So that makes sense that, as life goes swirling around us and there are many, many things that those kind of like curveballs that we get and changes in life, having items, having possessions kind of anchors us to the here and now and helps us to stay grounded in a constantly changing world. Um, the fifth thing they said is that capitalism, although it didn't create this desire, this need for possessions, it does weaponize it. So, even though you might know that, it's all dust and you can't take it with you and all that, we do have a certain thing built into our culture that lets us see the owning of things as something important. So you're always wanting to get the newest iPhone or what have you. And then the final thing they said, number six, they said letting go. There goes my paper. Letting go can feel like you're erasing parts of the self. And boy, that really hit home. When you get rid of the things that you have agency over, that are part of who you are, that are attached to your memories, then of course the letting go of it is like letting go of a part of yourself because you're letting go of a part of your history. So that makes total sense. So, um, I want to share with you now a couple of stories from my life that have kind of formed my philosophy, um, kind of the experience I have and how they shaped me as a person. The first story, these are both fairly recent, I'd say within the last 15 years or so. So the first story is about when I first started teaching. I lived in three rental houses over that time period. So it's 3 years, three houses basically. And the last one that I lived in was out in the country. It was part of one of the farmers, the local farmers there. They had this house on their property and they agreed to rent it to me. Um, what happened was one day I was sitting in my classroom. I was during my planning time, so I was grading papers or making plans for the next lesson. I don't know. And in comes the office secretary, and she says to me, completely blasé, straight face, "Your house is burning down, or your house is on fire." And I kind of smiled at her and I kind of giggled, and I thought she was joking. And then she said, "No, your house is on fire." And so I'm like, it's a very surreal experience. It doesn't hit like it's real. So I got up, got in my car, drove out to where that house was. It's about 45 minutes from the school, and sure enough, the whole house was fully ablaze. Um, it took a while for the volunteer fire department to come out and put the fire out. By the time they did, it was right to the ground, nothing. I lost everything. So let's see, I lost all the clothes I had. The only clothes I had were on my back. Important papers like my birth certificate, my social security card, my tax records, all gone. My college diploma, all gone. Photos, everything. All my furniture, which I had purchased new because I was a teacher now and I was going to be, I had a brand new refrigerator and I had a brand new mattress, things like that. They were all gone. Washer and dryer, all gone. Anything you can think of. Uh, I had an extensive book collection, all gone. I had a collection of original artwork that I'd either purchased as an investment and I make it sound like it was really, really valuable, but it's worth, a little bit. Or I purchased from fellow art students when they'd have their art shows because I really liked them, all gone. So I lost it all. And it's funny how weird it is how we take for granted that there's going to be pots and pans and dishes and books and clothing available to you at any moment you might need it. And for years afterwards, and actually a friend of mine who had also had their house burned down warned me, for years afterwards, I go looking for something until I realize, oh yeah, I lost that in the fire. So story number two. Um, Remember I was telling you about that income-based housing that I lived in and how they suddenly raised the rent to $300 more a month and I couldn't afford it. And as a result, I had to move out. Well, I decided since I had a job and I thought I was going to be there for a while, so I had invested again in buying real furniture and pots and pans, and I bought art supplies because I was I art is my life. So making art is an essential for me. And I had a collection of plants, house plants, because I really love plants and gardening. Um, so I had a lot of things. And then when I lost the apartment and was going to be moving into my car, I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and rent a storage facility because I don't want to lose everything like I did in the past, just in case somehow it works out that I find a place to live. I was hoping maybe, I don't know, I guess finding a roommate or moving so far away that it was cheaper. At the time, I didn't realize that it was expensive all over, not just in the city I lived in. So a friend of mine helped me move all my stuff to this. It was like, I think it's 8 by 10 storage storage thing with the garage door that closes, and it was filled up with all my furniture and knickknacks. And I left it in there thinking, I'm going to live in my car for a little while. And I did. I was a little Chevy Cruze that I had purchased um, a couple months prior to that. I had just bought it. It was a used Chevy Cruze, and I would do DoorDash, to bring in a little extra income, and that combined with my retirement um, was adequate. I wasn't comfortable where I was sleeping every night, and it was, getting a shower and go using the bathroom was a little more public than you would like, but you know, it was working okay for about 2 months. Because 2 months after I bought the car, actually it was probably more than that because it was the lemon laws. It was just after it being able to turn it in for a lemon had expired. The what's it called? The turbocharger went out. So it's an expensive repair. It was going to be like $1,500, which I didn't have, of course. And I could only drive it about a mile, and then it would be like belching all the smoke, and it would be shuddering and getting ready to seize up. So my car died. My car died, and along with that died my dream of living again in an apartment in that city that I love so much. So it was at this point that I had called a family member, uh, which I don't have contact with them because complicated issues, but I had called them because I was desperate. It was the end of June, is extremely hot, and they agreed to come out and get me. So for them, it would have been like a 500-mile trip, and I went to my storage space, and because all I had was my little car to put things in, I was only able to grab a few items. So I grabbed like my tax items, my replacement diploma, things like that. And I left the rest there, and I left the door open, and there were two men next to me. They were unloading. They were taking stuff out of a storage space next to me, putting it on a truck, and they didn't speak English. So I used my Google Translate, and I offered to them everything that was in my storage to sell if they would just empty the storage for me, because I had no way to do it. So that's how I lost all of that stuff. So, told you about the car. So, what that is this constant gathering of things and losing of things has taught me a way to be. And although I sometimes give in to my passions and start to collect things again, like vintage ceramics, for example, um, I'm trying to read my paper and still act like I'm talking to you instead of reading my paper. Um, I've learned that I can live in just one room from living at the YWCA and with very little, because I've lived with very little many times. I've done it before. But I got to say that losing it all this time, I'm in this time moving to another country. I'm the one in control, and I have a goal and a purpose behind it. So that is something to keep in mind as you start experiencing these feelings. Um, I would say feelings of shame. I'm definitely feeling feelings of shame with regard to this and loss. So you might feel the same thing. Just remember that there's a goal and a purpose to it, and that, but also keeping in mind what ChatGPT shared, the reasons why we feel so attached to things. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a human person. So on to what I have done with my stuff. Starting Christmas, it was a little couple days before Christmas Eve last year. I took a lot of the knick-knacky things that I had in my house and extra dishes, things like that. And I put them out on my front porch and I put a free sign because my thinking was I should do this now because there might be people who maybe can't have a lot for Christmas and might appreciate being able to get a little extra, something for that really special holiday that we all have here in the United States. I also had a collection of vintage ceramics. I had gathered them from going to these live sales on YouTube, which was probably a mistake, but I have a real weakness for beautiful things, especially beautiful things with history. Um, and for those items, one of the things I was able to rescue from my storage was a large suitcase. So I filled that large suitcase with almost all of those items. And I wrote on the suitcase my son's name and that it was his inheritance from me. It's not much, but I hope that someday it'll find its way to him and he'll either be able to keep them until they're antiques, because most of them nearly are anyhow, and maybe sell them or even sell them now and make some kind of money off of it. It's what I have to offer him. The next thing that I did is you know how you have some things in your house that you still use, but really no one else wants them, like, I don't know, your raggedy old sheets on your bed or something that's kind of broken but still kind of works. Those things I threw away. I just put them in the trash and threw them away. I felt wasteful doing that, but it was expedient. Um, all the furniture in this house, either pretty much all of it was found on side of the road kind of furniture. So I may leave it if the landlord wants me to keep it here, or I may just put it out on the curb again and give it away. I probably will do one more giveaway for sure, and that is closer to the end of this month, which is February 2026. I'll probably put all my canned goods and my seasonings out for people, whoever might want them, just like I did with the knickknacks and stuff I did around Christmas. And then there are a few higher value items, like I have an extra auxiliary computer monitor for when I was teaching. I have a printer, a few other things. I have a backup battery, things like that. Those I'm leaving along with their receipts showing their original value and a spreadsheet that shows their depreciation of 50% and 75%, in the hopes that my relative who rented me this place will accept those in lieu of paying the last utility bill here, which I anticipate will be at least $150 that I would rather not give to them. I would rather have for my trip. So and then what's left over. There's a few things that are left over that I simply cannot part with, and those are a few of my art tools and some of my artwork. And they are all contained in this bag. I don't know what I'm going to do with this bag. I'm hoping my dad will take it. It also has my tax information, like legal documents, my diploma, um, but mostly like artwork and things like that. I was going to try and take some of the artwork with me, but I don't know if I can fit it into the small amount of luggage I'm going to have, and I don't know if I want to lug it around the world. Um, the chances of getting ruined or damaged are pretty high if I do that, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so my friends, that is all I have to share about my getting rid of my possessions journey that I've made. And I just want to reiterate that my goal here is to share what I've learned. I want to provide a point of view for people who are like me, who are in a lower income situation. And if you think that you would enjoy these videos or you might benefit from them, I do ask you to consider subscribing. And if you got anything from this video, I would ask you most kindly to like the video. All right, that's all for me from now. Until next time, bye-bye.